I never imagined that at 35 I would experience the two worst betrayals of my life back to back. First, walking in on my wife Amanda in bed with Kevin, my colleague at the architecture firm. But the second cut deeper, my own parents taking her side, believing her lies, and then refusing to let me stay with them when I had nowhere else to go. 5 years have passed, and now they suddenly want back into my life after hearing about my engagement to Eliza, the woman who helped me rebuild from the ashes they left me in. Before I share how my world crumbled twice over, let me know where you are watching from in the comments, and hit subscribe if you have ever had to rebuild your life when the people you trusted most let you down. I met Amanda during my 3rd year of college. I was pursuing an architecture degree, pulling all-nighters in the design studio, while she was a business major, with an infectious laugh and ambition that matched my own. We connected at a mutual friends party, and within weeks, we were inseparable. Amanda was beautiful, intelligent, and seemed to understand my passion for design. We complemented each other perfectly, or so I believed. I was the dreamer with practical skills, and she was the pragmatist who could navigate social situations with ease. After graduation, we both landed promising jobs in the same city. I joined an up-and-coming architecture firm where I worked alongside Kevin, an experienced architect who became my mentor. Amanda secured a position at a marketing agency, and we celebrated our individual successes together. At 25, we got married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by friends and family. My parents adored Amanda from the start. Mom would often say, "She brings out the best in you, Jayce," and Dad, a man of few words, would nod in agreement. We bought our first home together, a fixer-upper that I spent weekends renovating. Life seemed perfect. I was climbing the ladder at work, taking on more significant projects, while Amanda advanced in her own career. We talked about starting a family within a few years once we were more established. My parents, traditional Midwesterners with strong family values, were eagerly awaiting grandchildren. They lived just 30 minutes away, and we had Sunday dinners with them almost every week. Amanda quickly became the daughter my parents never had. She would help Mom in the kitchen during holidays, bring thoughtful gifts on their anniversaries, and even accompanied my mother to her gardening club meetings occasionally. Dad taught her how to fish during our summer trips to the lake house, something he had only shared with me before. She fit perfectly into our family dynamic, sometimes understanding my parents in ways that even I could not. I was grateful for the close bond they formed, never suspecting how it would be weaponized against me later. As years passed, my workload increased. The architecture firm took on larger commercial projects, and I was spending more time at the office. Kevin and I often worked late, competing for the same promotion. Amanda began complaining about my hours, saying she felt neglected. I tried to make it up to her with weekend getaways and surprise gifts, but the distance between us grew. We fought more frequently, usually about my commitment to work versus home. I suggested couples therapy, but Amanda dismissed the idea as unnecessary. The day everything fell apart started like any other. I was supposed to be on a 3-day business trip with Kevin and other colleagues, presenting designs to clients in Chicago. The final meeting concluded earlier than expected, and I decided to fly home that night instead of staying the extra day. I wanted to surprise Amanda, thinking a spontaneous evening together might help bridge the growing gap between us. I stopped at her favorite restaurant for takeout, picked up flowers, and drove home with a sense of anticipation. When I pulled into our driveway, I noticed a familiar car parked across the street. It looked like Kevin's Audi, which made no sense since he should have been in Chicago with the rest of the team. Confused, I entered our house quietly. The living room was empty, but I heard sounds coming from upstairs. As I climbed the stairs, the sounds became clearer, unmistakable. I stood frozen outside our bedroom door for what felt like eternity before pushing it open. There they were, Amanda and Kevin, in our bed. Our marriage bed. The Chinese takeout boxes fell from my hands, and both of them whipped their heads toward the door. Amanda screamed, scrambling for the sheet, while Kevin jumped up, fumbling for his clothes. The look on their faces would have been comical if it were not so devastating. Pure shock, then guilt, then Amanda's expression morphing into something harder, almost defensive. "Jayce, this is not what it looks like," Kevin stammered, despite the obvious evidence to the contrary. Amanda, surprisingly composed, simply said, "You were not supposed to be home." That night was a blur of shouting, crying, and painful revelations. Amanda admitted the affair had been going on for 6 months. 6 months of lies, deception, and betrayal, while I worked alongside Kevin every day, considering him a friend and mentor. When I asked why, Amanda's answer cut deep. "You were never home, Jayce. I was lonely. Kevin listens to me, makes me feel wanted. It just happened." I slept in my car that night, unable to bear being in the same house as Amanda. The next morning, I went straight to the office and confronted Kevin publicly. In a room full of colleagues, I called him out for sleeping with my wife. He offered no defense, just stood there looking sheepish as I resigned on the spot. I could not work another day in that environment, even if it meant financial uncertainty. Amanda filed for divorce within a week, citing irreconcilable differences, as if what happened was some minor disagreement rather than her profound betrayal. Just like that, my marriage was over and my career was in shambles. Little did I know that the worst betrayal was yet to come. I called my parents the day after discovering the affair, voice breaking as I explained what happened. Mom gasped in shock while Dad muttered something about that no-good son of a gun. They seemed appropriately outraged on my behalf, offering sympathetic words and inviting me over for dinner that weekend to talk things through. Their initial reaction gave me comfort during the darkest moment of my life. 3 days later, I drove to my childhood home to pick up some winter clothes I had stored in their attic. I needed them now that I was staying at a cheap motel while figuring out my next steps. When I turned onto their street, I immediately spotted Amanda's red Toyota in the driveway. My stomach dropped. What was she doing there? I parked across the street, conflicted about whether to go in or drive away. Curiosity won out. I approached quietly, hearing voices through the partially open window. I stood outside, frozen in disbelief at what I was hearing. I tried so hard with him, Margaret, Amanda was saying, her voice quavering with well-practiced emotion. But Jayce was just never there. Always at work, always prioritizing his career over our marriage. Some weeks I barely saw him. A woman needs attention, needs to feel loved. "Oh, honey, we understand," my mother responded, her tone dripping with sympathy. "Jayce has always been stubborn and work-focused, just like his father used to be. I never wanted to hurt him," Amanda continued. "Kevin was just so supportive during a difficult time. He actually listened when I talked." I could not believe what I was hearing. I pushed the front door open, startling all three of them. Amanda sat at the kitchen table, eyes red and puffy, with my parents flanking her protectively. The scene was surreal, like walking into an alternate reality. "What is this?" I demanded, looking from Amanda to my parents. "Son, calm down," Dad said, standing up. "We are just talking." Talking. She cheated on me. With my colleague. In our bed. My voice rose with each statement. Mom placed her hand over Amanda's protectively. "Jayce, marriage is complicated. There are always two sides to every story. Two sides. What about loyalty? What about wedding vows?" I was shouting now, unable to contain my anger and hurt. "Do not raise your voice in this house," Dad warned. "Amanda came to us because she is hurting too. You pushed her into another man's arms with your workaholic tendencies." I stared at him in disbelief. "Are you serious right now? You are defending her. We are not taking sides," Mom said, though her position beside Amanda made that claim laughable. "That is exactly what you are doing." I gestured to their protective stance around my cheating wife. "She betrayed me in the worst possible way, and you are sitting here comforting her. Perhaps if you had been a more attentive husband," Mom suggested, her tone condescending, "this would not have happened." That was the moment I realized I had lost not only my wife but my parents too. The argument escalated, with Dad eventually asking me to leave until I could discuss this rationally. I stormed out, watching through the window as they consoled Amanda, the woman who had destroyed my life. In the weeks that followed, Amanda's true colors emerged fully. She hired an aggressive divorce attorney who pushed for alimony, despite her well-paying job. She wanted the house, half my savings, and even tried to claim a portion of my retirement account. Throughout this process, my parents maintained contact with her, offering support and guidance. The ultimate betrayal came during the divorce proceedings. I walked into the courtroom to find my parents sitting directly behind Amanda, not even attempting to maintain neutrality. They nodded curtly in my direction but made no move to speak with me. Their presence clearly telegraphed their allegiance to the court and to me. When the judge granted Amanda the house in the settlement, largely due to my emotional state affecting my legal strategy, I found myself essentially homeless. My savings were depleted from legal fees and the divorce settlement. With nowhere to go and a new job paying significantly less than my previous position, I swallowed my pride and asked my parents if I could stay in their guest room temporarily. "We think it is best if you figure this out on your own," Jayce, Mom said, not quite meeting my eyes. "You are a grown man, and these are consequences of your choices." My choices? I was incredulous. I did not cheat. I did not lie. All I did was work hard to provide for my family. Perhaps this is a learning experience, Dad added. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom before we can rebuild. I left without another word, the finality of their rejection settling over me like a shroud. Later that month, I discovered through social media that they still invited Amanda for Sunday dinners and holiday gatherings. A cousin inadvertently sent me photos from Thanksgiving, showing Amanda seated in my usual place at the table, laughing with my family as if she belonged there more than I did. The breaking point came at Christmas. An Instagram notification showed photos of Amanda celebrating with my parents at their home, exchanging gifts by the tree, where my childhood ornaments still hung. In one image, Mom was hugging her a handmade scarf, similar to the ones she knitted for family members, draped around Amanda's neck. That day, I blocked my parents on all communication channels and social media. I changed my phone number and email address. If they had chosen Amanda over their own son, they no longer deserved a place in my life. The double betrayal was complete, and I was truly alone. For 2 weeks after being denied shelter by my own parents, I slept in my car, parked in different Walmart lots each night for safety. I showered at a gym, where I had a membership, and kept my few remaining possessions in the trunk. Rock bottom had a concrete reality I never imagined I would experience. The turning point came when I reached out to Marcus, a former college roommate living in Portland. When I explained my situation, he immediately offered his couch until I could get back on my feet. His generosity, contrasted with my own family's rejection, brought me to tears. "Everyone deserves a second chance, man," Marcus said simply. "Just not the people who put you here." With Marcus's help, I secured an entry-level position at a smaller architecture firm 200 miles away from my former life. The pay was less than half what I had been earning, but it was a fresh start. I found a tiny studio apartment that I could barely afford, furnished it with second-hand items, and began the slow process of rebuilding. That first year was the hardest. I worked long hours at the new firm, trying to prove my worth while dealing with the emotional fallout of losing my marriage, career, and family all at once. A colleague recommended a therapist who specialized in trauma and betrayal, offering a sliding scale fee I could manage. Those weekly sessions became my lifeline. "What hurts most," I told Dr. Rivera during one session, "is that they chose her, my own parents." Family betrayal cuts deeper than any other, she acknowledged. But it also reveals truths that might otherwise have remained hidden. Consider what their choice tells you about them, not about your worth. Slowly, I began reconstructing my identity separate from the roles that had defined me: husband, son, successful architect. I joined a support group for divorced men, where I found understanding without judgment. There I met individuals who had survived similar betrayals and emerged stronger. At work, I gradually rebuilt my reputation. My new firm valued my experience and fresh ideas. By the second year, I received a modest promotion that allowed me to move to a slightly larger apartment. I developed new friendships primarily through the support group and a weekend hiking club I joined to get out of my head. 3 years after the divorce, while volunteering at a community garden project my firm had helped design, I met Eliza. She was an elementary school teacher, helping her students plant vegetables as part of their science curriculum. When one of her third graders accidentally sprayed me with a hose, Eliza's mortification quickly turned to laughter at my drenched appearance, and something about her genuine warmth drew me in immediately. Unlike the rapid development of my relationship with Amanda, Eliza and I moved slowly. She too was divorced, having left an emotionally abusive marriage 2 years earlier. Our shared experiences created an instant understanding between us. On our third date, I told her everything about Amanda and my parents. "That is their loss, Jayce," she said, simply squeezing my hand. "Some people reveal their true nature in crisis, and it is rarely pretty." Eliza understood boundaries and respect in ways Amanda never had. She never pushed when I needed space and was completely transparent about her own life. We both recognized the value of honesty after experiencing its painful absence. "Family is who shows up," Eliza told me once, describing her close relationship with her sister and aunt who had supported her through her divorce. "Sometimes the family we choose matters more than the one we are born into." Despite the growing closeness with Eliza, I hesitated to fully commit. The fear of another betrayal lingered like a shadow over our relationship. After a year together, when Eliza gently brought up the idea of moving in together, I panicked and nearly ended things. The breakthrough came during a particularly intense therapy session. Dr. Rivera helped me recognize that I was punishing Eliza for wounds inflicted by others. By withholding trust, you are letting Amanda and your parents continue to control your happiness, she pointed out. Is that the life you want? That question resonated deeply. The following weekend, I took Eliza hiking to the spot where we had our first real conversation. There, surrounded by autumn colors, I explained my fears and my commitment to overcoming them. I cannot promise I will never be afraid again, I told her. But I can promise to never let that fear make decisions for us. 2 years into our relationship, during a weekend getaway to the coast, I asked Eliza to marry me. The joy in her eyes as she said yes confirmed I had made the right choice. We celebrated by taking photos of the sunrise from our beach cottage and posted the announcement on social media, something I rarely did. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a text notification. The number was unfamiliar, but the message froze me in place. "Jayce, this is Mom. We heard about your engagement. Can we talk? We miss you." In the days that followed, both parents left voicemails and sent multiple texts. After 5 years of complete silence, their sudden reappearance felt like a surreal intrusion into the new life I had carefully built without them. "You do not owe them anything," Eliza said when I showed her the messages. "But if hearing them out would give you closure, I support that too. Just remember, you set the terms now." After 3 weeks of deliberation and several discussions with Dr. Rivera, I agreed to meet my parents at a neutral location, a coffee shop, halfway between our homes. Eliza offered to come with me, but this was a conversation I needed to have alone. I arrived early, selecting a table with clear sightlines to the exit, a habit I had developed during the most anxious period after the divorce. When my parents walked in, I barely recognized them. Dad's hair had gone completely white, and Mom looked smaller, somehow more fragile than the imposing figure of my childhood memories. "Jayce," Mom whispered, reaching toward me before hesitantly withdrawing her hand. "Thank you for meeting us." They sat across from me, both clutching coffee cups with trembling hands. The awkward silence stretched until Dad cleared his throat. "We owe you an apology," he began, voice rough with emotion. "We failed you when you needed us most." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "We were wrong, so wrong. We should have supported you, believed in you." "What changed?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "It has been 5 years of complete silence. Why now?" They exchanged glances before Mom answered. "Amanda." She eventually showed her true colors to us too. The story emerged in painful fragments. 2 years after my departure, Amanda had begun dating Kevin seriously. She continued her relationship with my parents, still attending family functions and maintaining the role of surrogate daughter. Then my mother discovered Amanda cheating on Kevin with yet another man. When I confronted her, she became defensive, said terrible things about all of us, Mom explained. She claimed Kevin was just as neglectful as you had been, that no one understood her needs. That is when we realized she had manipulated us completely, Dad added. Everything she said about you, all the stories about how you had mistreated her, they were lies we should never have believed. We tried to find you, Mom continued, but you had changed, your number moved away. No one would tell us how to reach you. I sat back, processing their words. It took another betrayal for you to recognize the first one. What does that say about your faith in me, your own son? Dad wiped his eyes, a gesture I had rarely seen in my childhood. It says we were foolish, easily manipulated. Amanda knew exactly how to play on our concerns about your workaholic tendencies, your grandfather's similar patterns that nearly destroyed my parents' marriage. She twisted those fears into weapons against you. We are so sorry, Jayce, Mom added, openly crying now. When we saw your engagement announcement, it felt like a sign, a second chance we do not deserve but desperately want. I had imagined this conversation countless times over the years, dreamed of screaming at them, making them feel the pain they had inflicted. Yet sitting across from them now, I felt strangely empty. Do you know what happened to me after you turned me away? I asked quietly. I slept in my car for 2 weeks. I lost nearly everything. I had to rebuild my entire life from scratch without the support system I thought I could count on. Their faces crumpled with shame, but I continued. The hardest part was not the divorce or even the affair. It was realizing that my own parents, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, chose someone else over me. Do you have any idea what that feels like? No, Dad admitted. And we will carry that shame forever. Mom reached across the table tentatively. We want to be part of your life again, Jayce. Part of your new journey with Eliza. Maybe even at the wedding. I withdrew my hand. That is not how this works. You do not get to disappear for 5 years and then step back into the role of parents in time for a wedding. Reconciliation takes time if it happens at all. I set clear boundaries during that meeting. We could have occasional coffee, nothing more for now. They would not meet Eliza until I felt ready. They would not have traditional roles in any wedding ceremony. My life would remain largely separate from theirs until trust could be rebuilt, if ever. Over the following months, we met sporadically. Each conversation revealed more about how Amanda had strategically driven a wedge between us, playing on their insecurities and concerns while presenting herself as the victim. While this knowledge provided context, it did not erase the pain of their choices. 6 months after our initial reunion, I finally agreed to introduce them to Eliza. We met at a restaurant, the atmosphere tense, despite everyone's best efforts. Eliza, with her innate kindness, made conversation easier, but the damage was evident in every careful word, every awkward silence. "She is wonderful," Mom said as we parted. "You deserve someone who treasures you." "I know," I replied simply. That was the difference now. I no longer needed their validation to recognize my own worth. When Eliza and I married the following spring, it was a small ceremony with chosen family in prominent positions. My closest friend from the support group was my best man. Eliza's sister was her maid of honor. My parents attended, sitting quietly in the back, respectful of the boundaries I had established. At the reception, Dad approached me alone. "I know we can never undo what we did," he said, "but I want you to know how proud I am of the man you have become, despite us, not because of us." For the first time since the betrayal, I felt a flicker of the connection we once shared. Not forgiveness exactly, but acknowledgement of the complex, imperfect nature of family bonds. Today, nearly a year after the wedding, we maintain limited but cordial contact. Holiday dinners are possible now, though often still uncomfortable. Eliza and I have created our own traditions, our own chosen family of friends who proved their loyalty during the darkest times. My parents exist on the periphery of this world, allowed in only to the degree that feels safe and right for me. The lesson I learned through this painful journey is that betrayal, while devastating, reveals truths we might otherwise never discover. It showed me my own resilience, the value of chosen family, and the importance of maintaining boundaries even with those who share our blood. I no longer harbor anger toward my parents or even Amanda. That emotion required energy better spent on building my new life with Eliza. Instead, I feel gratitude for the painful lessons that ultimately led me to greater wisdom and authentic happiness. Have you ever had to rebuild after betrayal by those closest to you? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more journeys of resilience and recovery. Consider sharing this video with someone who might be struggling with family betrayal and needs to know they are not alone. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember that sometimes the family we choose brings greater healing than the one we are born into.